Hey, what's up guys? I'm Glenn with Longshot Martial Arts, and today I'm going to show you how I tape my knee before Jiu-Jitsu practice. Okay, so what we're going to need for this is just run-of-the-mill athletic tape. Don't go with any of that KT tape, and I'm sure it's great for some uses, but for me I've tried it on my knees and it just doesn't offer the same kind of support, and it doesn't stay in place for as long as I need it to. Especially with the amount of friction and the amount of sweat, it just doesn't do the job. So I go with this Rite Aid brand, cheap white athletic tape. I think it's 1.5 inches. It's very sturdy, and the adhesive is actually really aggressive. So even during hard practices where you're sweating a lot, you're getting a lot of friction, it stays in place and it holds until the end of practice. So also I use a regular elastic sleeve knee brace. I actually got this one from Rite Aid as well for like 10 bucks. It doesn't need to be a very fancy one. So first thing we want to do is we want the leg fully exposed, and you're actually going to tape a little bit further up on the knee. So you want to pull the shorts up, and now find the edge of the tape. Sometimes that's a pain. And now right around mid-thigh, I want to flex my leg so that way as I'm going around my thigh, it's not too tight. So sometimes when people tape, they leave their leg really relaxed, and then as they go around, they get their whole tape job done, and then as they go to move, their muscles have no room to flex, and it becomes very uncomfortable, and it's, you know, cutting off circulation. It's miserable. So you just wasted a whole roll of tape. So I go mid-thigh, and I place one end here, and I hold it in place with my palm, and I pull it out, you know, about as much as I think I need to make it all the way around without having to pull tension on it. I flex my leg up, and we come through, and we want it to lay as flat as possible. And every time I extend tape out, I'm always holding the strap that's connected, so that way I'm actually pulling the tape away from the roll with my hand, and it's not pulling against my leg and digging deeper. So I'm going over, and when you go to rip the tape, it's also very frustrating too for beginners. You know, you go to rip it, and there's actually this roll right here that your fingers create, and it makes it almost impossible for this strap to get cut. So I hold my palm flush against the roll and against my leg, and I peel back from one end to the other here. And now we find the other edge here. And this will become a repetitive process. Every time that you rip the tape, you'll have to re-expose that tag end. Now I've gone on the thigh. I'm going to go mid-calf. And again, make sure your calf is flexed. That way we don't cut off circulation. And always holding it flush against my leg. Kind of smooth it over. And now, when we're taping a knee, we want to leave the kneecap and the hamstring exposed, the back of the knee. So I'm going to keep my leg as straight as possible here, and I'll turn my toes slightly to the side, exposing the side of my knee. So I angle off to the side, and now I'm going to crisscross from each anchor, starting with just a straight line here, from each anchor, overlapping, and make sure as you go, there's no tension on it. Just let it lay flat and smooth it as we go. Try to make sure we don't end up with too many wrinkles. Wrinkles are going to happen, but you don't want anything that's going to pinch or be uncomfortable to wear for the rest of the day. And we go in a crisscrossing X pattern that will eventually create like an hourglass shape on each side. And we don't want to go too far to the front or the back of the shin or the thigh or the back of the calf. And we want to focus all that support right on the outside and the inside edge of my knee. So that way we have a lot of lateral stability. We'll do one more on this side. Lay it flat. And always pushing the tape against my leg as I pull the tape roll away from the strap that's making contact with my leg. Here, quick smooth out. Now, Same thing for the inside, straighten the leg out. And you want the leg as straight as possible because when you go to stand up, the tape is going to want to pull on your skin. So there will be a little bit of a break-in period. If you keep your legs straight, that break-in period won't be as uncomfortable. So same thing on the inside here. First, focusing straight up the middle of the inside of my knee. And now making this hourglass shape by crisscrossing each strap. Always holding it against my thigh as I go to rip the piece of tape off the roll. That way there's no extra tension that I don't want and that I don't need. And then always a little bit of slack as you go to press it down onto your leg. Okay, now once we have our hourglass shape, we have the knee exposed and we have the hamstring exposed. Right here, we don't want any kind of binding here. So now what I'm going to do is take the roll of tape and I'm going to keep my leg flexed, so I lean forward and keep a little bit of bend in my leg and flex my quad muscle. And I'm going from the top and I'm just going to close this off. From here, always holding it against every time I pull the tape away from the roll. Always supporting it so that way I'm not adding unnecessary tension. All the way around until all of my crisscrossing straps are covered. You can already see a little bit of this wants to come up. So that's what we're trying to avoid by adding these extra strips. All the way around, make sure it overlaps just a little bit. Try to get it as smooth as possible. Doesn't have to be super smooth, just not creating any kind of pinching. So now that's the top side is all closed in here, relatively smooth. And now same thing for the lower portion. I start at the bottom of the calf. Again, kind of go up on your tiptoes a little bit, to flex that calf. You don't have to try to burn your legs out, just a little bit of flex here, okay? And you don't have to pull this tight. The tape is rigid and it won't flex, so we want it to be comfortable as we apply it. Okay, now we rip it off. So when we're finished with our tape job, I don't want to just leave the tape exposed, because during jiu-jitsu you're going to be having a lot of friction. And this tape will roll, especially as it gets sweaty. The adhesive loosens a little bit, so it's more likely if you have just tape exposed that the sides will peel up and it'll get loose and the edges will roll, and it's actually very uncomfortable if it like rolls against your skin or your partner's skin. So I'm going to use that elastic knee brace here, turn it back inside out or outside in, and had it right the other way. I don't want to just slide the knee brace on just straight up. I want to make sure that I bunch it up, because again, this fabric will catch on that adhesive. It'll roll up and it'll be very difficult. So I roll it up here. Now we go around the foot and I try to get the bottom of my knee brace lined up with where I want it to sit. And then I kind of turn it inside out and work it up inch by inch until I settle on my final position here. Now you're going to have a little bit exposed on each side, no big deal, just as long as the tape is held in place. And usually the tape will actually help these elastic knee braces stay in place longer than they would just on their own. Because a lot of times, I'm sure if anybody's ever had to wear knee braces, as you grapple, it starts to roll down. And now you get this annoying rolling issue and you're constantly messing with it. This tape actually stops that from happening. So we want to try to keep it on the exposed parts of the tape. Okay, now when you're ready to take it off, it can be a pain. I would advise avoiding the surgical scissors, you know, the ones with the bent arm and the flat piece to wedge under the tape. It's not comfortable. Those scissors are not sharp enough and they're not serrated enough. It makes it really difficult and it's uncomfortable to try to wedge something in there. So if you notice, here, I'll take this off here again. Now, if you notice, when I finished, I actually tore it off on the front pretty close to the same spot on the top and bottom. So that way, this way I know where the edge of that tape is and I can actually unravel it. Or, now you have to be very careful on this next one. This next suggestion, this is personally how I do it, is I take a sharp knife. You need a sharp knife. No, there's no point in using a dull knife. It's much more dangerous. And obviously don't do this if you've got unsteady hands or if you're younger. You know, you need adult supervision. Just do the other way and just unravel it. It'll take a little while, but it's much safer. I take a knife and I peel a little bit of this tape up right here, and I hold it just like this right here, nice and loose. This knife is sharp, and I pull it away from the skin. I don't know if you guys can see this. I pull it up away from the skin, and now I make small cuts and open it up. Sometimes you can add a little bit of a rip, and now the more you do this, the further up away from the skin it gets, and the further down you make your cuts, the easier it is. Now the adhesive will pull your skin up with it, so we want to make sure that we're using our other finger to kind of pull it up as far as we can and separate the tape from the skin to be as safe as possible. Little cut, and again, if you have a sharp knife, this is much easier. And now right here, I just make a rip. And now the same thing on the bottom. We repeat the same step. You can kind of peel it away a little bit, make the same step. Just little baby slices, nice and small slice, just enough to get it ripped. And that tension that I'm pulling will actually help rip it. The knife doesn't actually do a lot of work. Just here, regrip, regrip. And now, make sure we close the knife. Now we just slowly peel away from the skin. And now I did not go with any kind of under wrap here. That stuff, in my opinion, is not really worth it, and it really reduces the effectiveness of the tape. It doesn't hold it in place. It moves around a lot more, especially as we sweat and we move, the tape will stretch, and the under wrap will actually allow the tape to stretch more. So this adhesive is really aggressive, so peel slowly. Again, always try to peel the skin down as you peel the leg open. If you're a hairy guy, I mean, you might want to consider shaving your legs before this. I'm not extremely hairy, but it still does pull a lot of hair out. So just be patient. It's worth the little bit of discomfort to stay safe during training. And as we go, it comes off relatively easy. And it's all one piece. Ball it up and throw it away. Hope you guys like this. Let me know how it worked out for you. Like, share, subscribe. Thanks, guys.